Hey guys, welcome to Flight Test. I'm Austin.
And I'm Peter.
And Peter's kind of our mad scientist here at Flight Test. And as I'm sure you can imagine, we get contacted by lots of different people about lots of different things. And most recently, we were contacted by USA Today to make something kind of special for them.
Yep. Basically what they wanted was, if you guys have ever seen the Back to the Future movie, you've probably noticed there was a drone in there, actually Back to the Future 2. And basically they wanted actually a real life concept of this model, so they contacted us to build it. But as you guys know, the one in the movie was a little corny and cheesy, and it didn't have propellers or anything like that, so it didn't look like it would work.
So basically, there's going to be a huge event out in LA that is going to be October 21st and 22nd. And if anyone out there is Back to the Future fans, you would know that those dates really hold some significance. But one of USA Today's requirements was they really wanted this to look cool, which I can't argue with them there. And one of your specialties is making multirotors look cool.
I've also worked on things like the Avengers helicarrier, like making a mock-up of that, like a realistic flying model, and also a flying fire extinguisher. And also I want to dress those things up so they look really cool and they look nice and they're like something that could possibly exist in the future. And one of the first things we had to decide is if we wanted to scratch build this machine from scratch or use an existing product to build on.
Some pros to completely scratch building something just from the ground up is that you can do literally whatever you want. However, the form factor that USA Today was really wanting, which is basically a hexacopter that could lift multiple camera platforms, that already exists.
Yeah.
So one of the biggest factors in deciding what kind of platform we're actually going to base this on is theoretically this is going to be something that USA Today is going to want to use in real life.
Yeah.
And so it's something that needed to be serviceable. It's something that needed to be easy to fly. And so enter DJI 900. So we really wanted a futuristic feel to this particular machine, and we actually had some sketches from USA Today. They had some ideas, so we weren't working totally from scratch.
Yep. We had to look at the machine, look at the size of it, and the general dimensions of the drawings they gave us. So we actually had to go on a crazy parts hunt, and we only had approximately 2 weeks to get this thing done?
Yeah, a little bit less.
So we had to go all over the place to find this.
With the design of this thing, we really wanted it to have a futuristic feel, but we also wanted it to be completely functional.
We looked all around on the internet. We thought about 3D printing, maybe making one from scratch and all this stuff. But what we ended up finding was the security domes, which is these basically high polished mirror-like finish. So what we had to do is we had to figure out how to put this dome on the machine. And to do this, we actually had to cut the dome in half, make accommodations for all the parts, and make it user-friendly so they could easily service out in the field and stuff. Because it was a little bit more harder than simply slapping a dome on the machine and then calling it a day.
Something else to keep in mind with multirotors like this is that they don't always look like super professional, I guess you could say. There's usually a lot of wires hanging out, and it just looks kind of crazy, which to us is fine. But when you're flying a news quadcopter or hexacopter, you kind of want it to have a look of professionalism that kind of puts people at ease. And so I think we really achieved that.
And also it's kind of a simplistic design from a certain standpoint, but it's easy to recognize the USA Today logo on it, so they wanted that kind of theme going on, and honestly, it does look pretty decent too, especially if you were going at a crazy sci-fi looking thing out of a movie.
One of the most important features that USA Today really needed was the ability to swap in and out easily lots of different kinds of cameras. As I can imagine, in news scenarios, you need different ways of capturing different kinds of events. So the two camera platforms that we went with just for this little trip out to LA is a new kind of action 360 camera called the 360 Fly. And that'll enable us to capture 360 horizontal degrees and also 240 vertical degrees to give a kind of nice little globe look to it.
And also, if you guys noticed, we put vibration dampening isolators on it. So we had an isolator on the machine, an isolator from RC Test Flight, and then we also had the isolator on the gimbal. So I heard you like isolation, so we isolated all your isolators.
It's a lot of isolation. There's two different platforms we had on here. We wanted HD 360. We also wanted 4K just for regular still photos. So to accommodate both those cameras, we used a 360 Fly, and we also used a GoPro Hero 4. So it's safe to say, Peter, we've been on this crazy mad dash for the past week and a half looking at different parts, building. Well, you've been mostly doing the building and researching different cameras and getting this thing all ready to go. So is it safe to say this thing's still kind of in its infancy stages?
I've only had a few chances to play with this thing. It's only been up there a couple times, but in the future we're hoping to add more to it, like Lightbridge and all that, HD streaming downlinks and crazy stuff like that, and also maybe even more lights and cool stuff.
And also make it compatible with more cameras.
Definitely.
Well, essentially, we're going out to Los Angeles to this huge 30th anniversary Back to the Future event. I believe it's we'regoingback.com. And so they're going to have all kinds of events, such as just like obviously watching the movies, having screenings of the movies. They're going to be going to a lot of the original locations in the films. We'll be riding hoverboards, meeting a lot of the original cast. And so USA Today really wanted this to be part of that celebration, to kind of bring back their role a little bit that was in some of the movies.
Cool.
So while we're out in LA experiencing hoverboards and DeLoreans and some of the original cast, that sort of thing in the movies, we encourage you to follow us on Periscope so you can kind of experience live with us, but also subscribe and check back to our channel because we're going to be releasing a full episode about everything that this is capable of, but also our kind of recapping our trip. I want to thank USA Today for kind of giving this challenge and this really cool project to work on. We're looking forward to taking this to LA to that big event, and we're looking on developing it in the future.
So be sure to subscribe and look forward to the coming episodes with this thing.
Thanks for watching, guys.